So welcome to the May 13th, 2021 Economic Development Council meeting. We have the first thing on the agenda is meeting minutes, April 8th, 2021. Is anybody taking a look at those minutes and have any comments or questions or corrections?
I just called it up now and glanced at it, and there was something highlighted on the first page, so I think that needs to be clarified. I think it was Paperback Junction was the next place the Easton outside campaign was going to go to.
Okay, Stephanie, do you recall that?
Was Paperback Junction. There was one other, it was, Mark, I think you, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the other business. Was it Elliott Therapy? I don't think.
I don't recall that.
I couldn't recall that. In fact, I was going to take out the highlighting when I went through the minutes and forgot because I couldn't remember who it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's the correction to be made? So we're clear. Is there a correction?
Well, Paperback Junction is highlighted in yellow, so I would just, and with 2 question marks next to it, so it looked like whoever prepared the minutes was asking if that was the place. So just confirming that is the place. So just remove the highlighting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can we, if somebody could make a motion to approve the minutes with those clarifications, that would be great.
I noticed there's also a highlight on page 4, if we want to get rid of that.
Taking a look at it now.
I think the question mark on that was for FEMA having $4 million for smart manufacturing.
Oh yeah, was it? Again, that was one I saw that, and I didn't like. I couldn't imagine it was FEMA.
I think it was FEMA.
Was it? For smart manufacturing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's correct as well?
Yep.
Okay. Before I suggest a motion, are there any other comments or questions? No.
Nope.
Okay. Dan?
So motion to approve minutes as amended.
Second? Oh, Dottie, okay. So Dan and Dottie first, second. So I'll just go around because there's only a few of us. Smith?
Smith, yes.
Oljanidi?
Yes.
Holbrook?
Yes.
Danielson?
Yes.
And Lamb, yes. Okay. So, all right, next item on the agenda is the, you guys might not know this, but it is International Economic Development Week. It runs from May 9th through the 15th, I believe. And I just wanted to read a little something about what this week actually means. So for those unaware, Economic Development Week was created by the IEDC, which is the International Economic Development Council, in 2016 to increase awareness of local programs that create jobs, advance career development opportunities, and improve the quality of life in communities everywhere. Over the span of 3 years, more than 450 campaigns have been created throughout the United States and Canada, creating millions of impressions, hundreds of news stories, blog entries, videos, events, and other activities. Campaigns occurred in all 50 American states in 2018, with more than 40 communities officially proclaiming Economic Development Week. Since 2016, technology has opened new doors for creativity, which economic developments have taken advantage of by creating and sharing videos, infographics, banners, and many other types of materials which were spread far and wide on social media, website, and in print. So that's the official statement from Economic Development, the International Economic Development Council. And it's funny, I was reading this, and as I was reading this, I was looking at it yesterday. I thought to myself, we're literally doing all of these things. And, I think this year more than any other year, we're doing these things. And a lot of it comes with our strengthened relationship with the Easton Chamber of Commerce. So I think it's pretty cool. And, it's too bad that it's only 1 week. It should be a month, not just a week. But does anyone have anything they'd like to add?
I would just like to say that, back in 2013, Dan came up with this idea. It was actually one of the flagship ideas that he had when he was running for the select board. And not many communities have an economic development council. I don't know any in our region that do. So I was very forward thinking to do that and to have focus on that. And it feels like it took a long time for us to get to this point of movement. But part of the reason for that is there's a lot of work to be done in the foundation. Even referring back to the master plan, which we do every year, we go back to that because there was a list of action items that the town said we should be doing. And we've really checked a lot of those off the box, but it takes a while to build momentum with any of these boards and committees for the ideas to get the right mix of people and relationships. And I'm glad that Dan's back on the council again to be able to see how this is evolving, an idea that he brought forward and then to be a part of it again. So glad to have you back, Dan.
You're way too generous, Dottie. No,
That's really incredible.
No, honestly, just looking from the outside in for the past couple of years, just really proud of everything that the town's accomplished between infrastructure and improvements. I know it's a real pain right now for driving through town, but it's temporary pain, right? And the long-term vision stuff that Stephanie's been working on around, just biking. The Depot Street's going to be phenomenal once it's done, and it's going to be a real substantive change that can be enjoyed for generations, literally generations. So it's great. Thanks for saying that, Doug. I appreciate it.
Dan, that's pretty incredible. What you started back then and how it's evolved to what it is now, because even in the short time I've here, I've seen it evolve, tremendously and really find its footing. It's funny. I said this in I think it's the select board meeting. I always look for silver lining in things, and I think out of COVID came a real foundation and purpose of what economic development this council can do and has the ability to do. What we've done in the past year is really been outstanding. In the fact that without your creation of it way back when, we wouldn't be where we're at. And I really do believe we're just getting started. But Dan, you pointed out all the things going on in town and how it takes a long time. And I observe from having started paying attention to what's going on in Easton in 2013, probably around the time you jumped in the arena. I was still sitting on the sidelines. And then once I stepped into it, I started to see all the moving pieces. And one of the things that was so glaring to me was it takes time. Economic development does not happen overnight. You can't just wave a wand and say, hey, in 5 corners, we're going to have sewer infrastructure. Everybody's going to be happy. It's going to attract business. And that's going to solve all our problems. It's like, no, there's thousands of man hours and millions of dollars that it takes to get to even the point of construction. And then you start to go through those growing pains of construction. But some things I want to point out to people is how long economic development really takes. And having a plan. Dottie, you and I were talking the other day. There are some communities that don't even have like a master plan. They don't, it's kind of like they're just, they're hoping that things will work out. So what's your plan here? We hope things will work out. It's like, what? That's your plan. You got to have a book, a guide, something to a goal. So I think Easton has done very well in that regard, in every aspect. That's my take on economic development for the town of Easton.
Yeah, one of the things that we didn't really have until this year was direct engagement with the business community. We have, had some business leaders like you, John, who've been on this council, but for like people that would really roll up their sleeves and on their off hours be out championing like a campaign. And so to be having that kind of engagement this year with the Easton Outside Group, I think that was a real game changer for this council.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. It was, and for me, at least for me, it opens up the doors of communication with the business owners. So frequently, I'll get a text from somebody, a chamber member or Karen Newman, or Isabel at the chamber asking a question about, what's going on in town, because they might have a customer or a client or somebody looking in a certain area, or they might have a question about, Stephanie, I think I reached out to you a couple months ago about somebody was looking to set up their catering business in an area of town, and they had questions about, septic or whatever. But it's just that open door of communication. Like now they have advocates for them, like just at a fingertip, at their fingertips. So I think that's something that didn't really exist, at least not as comfortably as it exists now. And that's what we need. We need a relationship with these business owners. The town really needs a strong, positive relationship, and we definitely have that. So, this council's been a major part of that. So I could talk about this all day. I won't bore everyone. You should hear me at the end of the select board meeting. So they have to really shut me down.
So in summary, happy Economic Development Week, everyone.
Yes. All right, so we have the Easton Outside update. There was a meeting on Tuesday. I was not able to attend that meeting. However, the week before there was a meeting. There's a weekly meeting, and in that meeting we discussed a video campaign where we'll highlight what a business does, and it's this Find Chris or Where's Chris campaign, where there's a gentleman who works at the Y, who's going to go all over town, and there'll be little videos of him with an Easton Outside cutout, and eventually, hopefully, it'll roll into him participating in something that business has to offer. Like if it's Langwater, it'll be him, picking out fruit. If it's at McGuire's, it'll be him crushing fried clams or having a beer at the brewery. But something like that, and that is going to keep us going for about a month or so, or it'll come out in a couple of weeks, I think, and it'll go for into the summer. But was Dottie or Stephanie, were you guys at the meeting on Tuesday?
So, Mark, the meeting, you'll recall the meeting's every other week now, so you did not miss the meeting on Tuesday. It's coming up this coming Tuesday.
Okay.
But one of the things that I will need to talk about at next Tuesday's meeting, and we can talk about a little bit here, Dottie, through the Old Colony, her role at the Old Colony Planning Council, secured a grant award for local regional pilot program, which really, I guess some communities were looking at what we were doing with Easton Outside, thought that they'd like to do a similar type of campaign. So that was how Dottie wrote the application. It would fund banners, signs, and the business app, which would allow businesses to list their businesses. And it's a kind of a town-sponsored app, and the business owners can, well, basically what we do is provide them a list of the businesses that we have, let businesses know that it's available and that they can put their information out there. And it's the basic stuff. It's, what's your business? What's the name? What type of business is it? Phone number, that type of information. So again, we'll be inviting them to participate. The question for the Easton Outside, because there will be money for other promotional materials, is what is needed. We talked a little bit about it, I think, at the last meeting, but we really need to kind of nail that down. I think at the last meeting, people felt that the masks, because so many people now are getting vaccinated and the numbers are going down, and we're in summer, that the masks aren't, and we still have a quantity of them, that those aren't necessarily going to be the item that's going to push the promotion. But, is there other signage, maybe some more of those frames where you can do the picture taking, things like that. Mm-hmm. So we'll do that. And Dottie, I saw your response. There's just one last question on the contract, and then I'll have Connor sign it.
Perfect.
I don't know if you want to talk about that. One of the things, we had a demo of the application, and really what it is it's like a town dashboard where towns can communicate information, they can provide updates on things, and then it has this component where you can list your businesses. So the grant will pay for the licensing for the app for a year, And then each community that's participating will have the opportunity to continue the licensing beyond that. So I thought it was cool because I thought it was, it could also be, we could use it more, we could potentially use it more across the town for communication. So in Dottie, you'll remember a couple of years ago, Roy Koch, who was on the board, talked about updating and modernizing town crier. So, you know, that's something that we'll have to have some discussions about around here. So.
Yeah, I think, you know, part of the reason that, so I was researching these business apps for like for months ago. And I found one that I really liked from a municipal perspective and a business perspective, which is the one that we're going to be using. And part of the challenge with that, you know, is when I brought it, I think I brought it to Connor, and it was like, yeah, where are we going to get the money for that? And who's going to facilitate it? Because there's some upfront work on this, right? The towns send the list, but then someone has to do some stuff to make it happen between the town and the developer. And that's where Old Colony Planning Council comes in, that they can coordinate and facilitate a lot of that, because in all of the communities, it's, you know, that's a great idea, but we have no money and we have no staff to support it. So I figured if we could get that and get it developed and get it up and running, then, you know, it's a pilot program, right? So if it works out and people like it and we can make it work, then the communities on their own can find the money. We could fundraise the money for it, for the continuation of it, if we wanted to do that, if we found a value to it. We also need to measure the success of it. So it's one thing to have the app, but, you know, Neil has told us that since the Easton Outside campaign started, he's noticed a real, you know, increase in his business, and we were hearing that feedback. So we need to try to capture that to see if we're going to spend, you know, money on this app, are the communities benefiting from it? Do new people come to town and know to look for this app? So that, like, the main focus, right, is for the businesses, but also, like, you could say you're new to town and you're looking for a doctor or a dentist, or like all of these things would be in there. And then you can also add in like a page for who is the governing body. So you could put like your town administrator and your elected officials, and you could put a list of all the town departments. How do you reach the DPW? Or you can have another module that's where are all we have all kinds of bike trails, walking trails. The maps are on the website. And I would never think to go to the website to say I'm going for a walk, where you can do guided historic walks through the downtown and through the cultural district. Like, all capabilities are so cool. Again, stay focused. Like, I want to stay focused on just the business part of it, but we can develop out all of those other pieces too. So it like as much or as little as communities want to do. Some of the communities that that wanted to be a part of this are like, yeah, we're probably never going to be able to do this after year one. Like, you know, we only have 10 businesses in our town, or, you know what I mean? So it's going to be a real, you know, Brockton was one of the other communities, and they have a huge long list of businesses. We have a good list, but it's not like a super complete list, and we need some more contact information. We have a lot of good contact information, but that's something Old Colony Planning Council can do, is have an intern here's the block of like real hardcore businesses that we want to reach out to them and say, come claim your business. That I can have somebody call all those businesses and find, you know, say, here's what we're going to do. Can I get an email contact so that we can send this to you? So I'm going to try to do that for the, you know, for the 5 communities that are in this grant. So
that's great.
Even if we were able to do some of them for each sector, you know, but I'm really excited about it. And we can do push notifications to say, hey, Saturday, the farmer's market, don't forget about it from 9 to 2, or, you know, there's music in Frothingham, bring your kids to the races, or like all kinds of push notifications that we can put out too.
I think one of the things that was that jumped out to me in discussing this app was in year one, that's majority of the cost. Year two, it's a fraction of the cost, because so much goes into the setup, that, like, as you mentioned, Old Colony Planning Council, they're going to be doing, I mean, in conjunction with the town, but the setup costs a lot of money. So this grant covers the setup plus the first year. So if we want
Right.
this in year 2, it's a lot less than this initial cost, which is fantastic. So I think that's
I think it's funny because Mark, you just gave a perfect example of what I was going to say, Dottie, about, other communities are looking at, gee, we're not going to be able to continue supporting this after the first year. And I kind of think in the Easton way, which is, oh, I will have to find a way on how we can continue to support this beyond the first year. And I really looked at it like Dottie said, we have a list. It's kind of hard unless you're going out and on a regular basis and canvassing your business districts, trying to keep up with the businesses that are out there and get that information. And I look at this as another way to help us get that information even beyond the first implementation and rollout, is that as businesses become familiar with the tool and its availability and the benefits that it provides, that maybe they'll start coming to us and giving us the information, and that will build our database of the businesses in Easton.
Yeah, and the other two things that are worth noting is, so when we get all this grant information, right? So a grant recently came out for, small women restaurants. We have to do that based on who we know. Like, when you get a business certificate, there's nothing that checks off that information, that demographic information. So if there's a grant for small minority businesses or restaurants or this or that, we have to just do it based on, our knowledge.
Right.
So
it's almost
in this
mechanical.
right, in the app, and this is across the board everywhere. In this app, there's going to be a place where businesses can self-identify if they're a veteran business or if they're, we can set the classifications for that, right? So then when we get opportunities for that particular group, of businesses, we know how to reach them and say, look, there's a grant for, for veteran-owned businesses or LGBTQ businesses or whatever. I think that that's a great way for us to be able to help that, and they can promote their business that way too, if there was a little icon on it. And another thing is that it will have a calendar that can aggregate the information from other sources. So it can automatically connect to the town's website. And if there's any calendar events, it can pull it onto that. We could probably connect that with the library. Like, that's been one of the biggest challenges since I have been on the board, that there's so many places to go for information that it's overwhelming. So if we could, use that and that be the one place that we put all the calendar information. And then when you have that on the app, I could look at it and say, hey, I want to take my kids to the race and it's next Wednesday night. You can click on it and it will go to your actual own personal calendar. So seamlessly, I can say, oh, don't forget to go to the farmer's market Saturday, and press that button, and Saturday morning I'm going to get an alert for it. So
there's such major incentive for the businesses to participate in this app. What I'd like to see happen is when, once it gets all set up and it's up and running, is the business community to turn around and be like, oh, you're not using the app, you don't have your information updated, you're not, posting or sending up notifications, you're missing out. And I'd like there to be, within that community, this desire to participate, because it will benefit them, like truly benefit them. And, by not participating, you almost feel left out of something. So that's the incentive, is, participate. Because and I do think the more people that participate, it will cause us to find the money next year to keep this going. Like the success in this first year, or the continuity of it in year 2 is completely based upon the success in year 1. So we're in this trial period, and we gotta make it work. Like if we don't make it work, or if people don't participate, or if we don't create an incentive for them to participate, then it won't continue. So there's incentive for us too to really push this out there and promote it and market it. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, we got to figure out a way to actually create some sort of small marketing plan to promote this.
Well, they have some ideas for that. So there's a QR code that you could just click and it will take you right to the app to be able to update your stuff. So we could do our own marketing campaign. We have a media list of how we do things, right? We could, Mark, you could go take a couple of the people from Easton outside and go do like a interview on ECAT and spread the word that way. We could put it in. We could talk to the paper about writing an article on it. Like we could do a lot of things to try to get it out there. Of course, it never reaches everybody, but we can do our best to get it going like that to build up momentum.
I think that's something that we need to maybe start talking about is that plan, because we know we'll have it up, we'll have the app, we'll work out the bugs. It'll probably be I'm hoping ready. Dottie, tell me what you think. August. Is that far-fetched to say August it'll be up and running and we'll have people participating?
Yeah, it has to be June.
I was going to say June 30th, right, Dottie?
All right,
June 30th. June 30th, the grant expires. So
I can put it.
All right, so then definitely in our next meeting, we need to talk about a marketing plan for the promotion of this app.
So how about this, Mark? How about I put an outline together? I send that off to you, to everybody. Give me feedback. And that will give us a good draft to work from at the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Because once July rolls around, we gotta start promoting the heck out of this thing, and we need a plan. Just like we were talking about economic development before. If in other communities not having a plan, if you don't have a plan, it's not going to work. So we need a plan.
Yeah, Stephanie, I can send you an email. So I'm also on the age-friendly communities, and we're going to be doing something with outreach. So I just put together an outreach list that I sent to Ann Daly this morning. I'll send you that list.
Oh, good.
A starting point.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay, excellent. John, Dan, anything?
No.
Okay. We have we did the Easton Outside update. I mean, we kind of went a little bit off out of order on the agenda. We just covered the pilot program, but local rapid recovery program update. Stephanie, could you take that one?
Yeah, that's there's not a lot of new information at this point. The survey, the business survey, has been completed. We had 7 respondents to that. Unfortunately, we don't get to know who they were, but they did provide some interesting feedback. I went over that with Heather. Some of the interesting points were, I think we look at, and remember, this is the Queeset Commercial District. We look at it as an aging area. The buildings are kind of aging, could use some update, a lot of facade improvements, things like that. Overall, they were satisfied, the 7, with the kind of the appearance of the district and the businesses. They did indicate that the sidewalks really need improvement and that needs some help. And they, I think, on the zoning side, didn't see that as an issue for businesses in the district. So their BSC is going to compile the information. They did do their canvas, their site walk and observations of the district. And they did reach out to some of the stakeholders and talked with them. They talked with Hammer and Stain, and Heather indicated that was really a good conversation. She got some real good feedback from the woman whose name Mark, I think do you know her? The woman
from Hammer and Stain? I don't.
Someone, maybe it's Easton Outside. Young woman.
Oh, it's really probably Karen or Isabel. They know everybody.
Right. But she really uses a lot of social media to do her marketing and her outreach, and just how they've responded to COVID. One of the things that kept her business going was she created these little take-home packets of crafts, because that's kind of what they do, so that people could pick them up and go home and work on their project there. And that really helped them out during COVID. And they're looking forward to keeping their business going and maybe even expanding. So that was useful information to have. So I'm expecting that we will be seeing recommendations, the recommendations on what the projects might be to help the businesses move beyond COVID and then continue to grow beyond that will then become defined projects.
You know, in our last meeting, we talked about making contact with the owner of the marketplace, as that is such a large.
She did.
I'm excited. Tell me something good.
It was no surprise to me. They're happy with what they have.
They don't want to do anything.
There's no movement going on that part. Yeah.
That's very disappointing.
Yeah, and
to be
it's
honest.
interesting because Heather, when I first mentioned who they were, I knew that they had some other real estate in Framingham. She indicated, I want to say it might be Newton. They have some property there. And I think from what I've heard anecdotally, we've felt that the marketplace was kind of probably unique in their holdings, that they haven't invested a lot in it and really don't actively seek to rent it other than to the capacity that it is right now, which is really just, it's a Keller Williams office. But she said that the other property that she was familiar with was pretty much in the same situation, underutilized, not a lot of ongoing investment into it. So it's kind of difficult to figure out what their business model.
Yeah, I'm not giving up hope in that with that plaza. I know. I mean, you know that there's like 4 anchors on that stretch.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest anchors, hands down, and that anchor is actually also in an incredibly traveled corridor. It's the only time 123 and 138 are the same road. That really short stretch. It's really heavily traveled. So I'm not going to give up hope or close the door on communication that something will happen with that area. You know, we're working on Korea's Plaza. We're doing everything we can to try and make that move. And the only other really large one is that place. So maybe
right. And you know, they own so it's actually 2 parcels. It's a contiguous parcel, but they have that big area out back that basically is just a paved area and it's totally underutilized. And there's a lot that could happen there.
Yeah.
That would really help the district. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that's a good update. And we'll keep plowing ahead.
Is there an update on Korea's Plaza? What the status is there?
They, so Ed Walsh, who is the owner and the project proponent, had tried to, he was, seeking investors and developers to act on the permit, which was mixed use, combination of residential. The feedback that he was getting was that if there were a higher percentage of residential versus commercial, it would move better, and he'd be getting a better response to that. In part, the commercial, because we know the retail market continues to change, of course, due to the internet, but then COVID hit and that really changed the how retail is functioning and operating. Also, office space. I mean, that was another option for the commercial aspect of that project, would be smaller offices. And that's really up in the air. We're hearing that across the board, that companies that have built out office space, or there are even office buildings that are continuing to be produced, but they're really holding out and kind of looking at what's going to happen in that market. I'm of the belief that in a lot of this is supported by other information and other people who are really analyzing the market, that we'll definitely see people continue to work from home. Not everybody who was working from home during COVID wants to stay working from home, but there are definitely people who do, and people that want to do a mix of that. And I think of those people, not everybody wants to necessarily work from their home. They want to be closer to home. They want to either reduce or eliminate that commute that they're making. So there may be an opportunity for smaller, like shared business space, but nobody's really talking about what that model might look like. So that's changing. And what Ed did, Mr. Walsh did, was he came to the planning board. He said, you know, that 2/3 requirement. So the Queeset Commercial District C, where Korea's Plaza is located, is allows mixed use, but right now you have to have 2/3 commercial and only 1/3 residential. And, you know, he's being told that the project would really be able to move forward if there were a higher percentage of residential allowed. So we're going to town meeting with a zoning amendment to change. The planning board agreed and voted to change that 2/3 commercial to 1/3 commercial, and expect that that should help that project move.
And just if I may, Stephanie, there are a lot. There will be people unhappy with that. I'm aware of that, because there are a lot of people who believe that we need more commercial than residential, and I understand that. But if you're the owner of that property, and this is what you need to make that property be developed, the alternative is it never changes. It stays the same. Yeah. So as much as I would love to sit here and say, nope, we're going to keep it 2/3 commercial, 1/3 residential, that is just not going, that's not working. It's literally not working. So something has to give in order for that to be developed. Otherwise, you know, you're at an impasse. It's a stalemate. Like nothing changes, except for people just become very unhappy that, it's 2/3 residential and 1/3 commercial. So we do need that. And I just want to be very clear that this has been exhausted. Stephanie, I watch your meetings, and it's been an exhausting process for both planning and zoning, for both the owner, and a lot of work has gone into getting it to where it is now. And this is what they need to make this project move. So I do support it.
And that's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, he's told the board that he could tomorrow, the figurative tomorrow, just redo it as a strip mall, just redo it, modernize it, and look good. Mm-hmm. That's not really what he wants. It's not what we think the town would like to see in that area. We really would like that to be a gateway, mm-hmm. and a showcase. And the architectural plans, if you've seen them, they're available online. It really would be an asset to Easton to have it constructed.
Absolutely, especially in that area, in that area and that location, to see something new and fresh and clean, and people present in that area. It'll be hopefully a game changer for that corridor.
Right.
But
I think a catalyst for a new development. Once you have one part of it that like really starts to develop, then it really is a domino effect.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think the best news out of this, that what I see so positive out of this, is the owner is engaged. All right. So you look at what's happening there and you overlay it with what's happening at the marketplace. They're not doing anything. And they're not engaged. They don't want to. We have an owner who's engaged, who's working to develop that area. So when you have that, you got to work with them to make things happen. So I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to that at town meeting, hopefully passing.
Without it already being on the agenda, can we formalize some motion to support, planning and zoning's proposed changes for town meeting? It's too late, right?
Yeah.
a violation of open meeting law, because especially any kind of a vote, like you can kind of maybe
Yeah, it wasn't on the agenda.
have a general discussion of some of the things that are on the agenda already, but in the vote.
Mhm. Well, without being able to formally say, I think we all informally support this without a vote occurring.
Mark
But
could
Dan, yeah,
certainly, Mark, you could certainly comment on that at town meeting as the chair of economic development, that, you know, the consensus of the members from discussions that we've had on here, you know.
okay. Yeah, I'll talk to, we'll talk after. I'll talk with you and Connor, see if that's, and you, Stephanie, see if we think that is necessary to support it. Because I'll definitely share what I just said, if it's necessary. So, anyway, that is the local rapid recovery program update. There's a lot. Does anybody have any comments or questions? No. Okay, Photonics presentation follow-up. In our last meeting, we failed to have a follow-up, which I think somebody pointed out to me. You know, we should talk about that again, and I agree. So who was here for that meeting, the Stonehill presentation? I was.
I certainly was here.
You were, John?
Yes.
Dan and Dottie, were you guys here?
No.
I wasn't, but I'm familiar with the program.
Yeah.
So just to bring you up to speed, Dottie and Dan, I know you said you were familiar, but what they're doing at Stonehill is like cutting edge technology. They're studying, developing a cutting edge technology. They're training students. They're participating in the business community. It's like, you know, it's not just a program that exists for students of Stonehill. It's a certificate program. So if you're like a little bit later stages in life and you want to switch careers, it's a certificate program where you go through this whole training on this cutting edge technology, and then you go out into the workforce, and it's incredible. So, you know, they spent a lot of time with us. They gave us a tour. It was pretty cool. And I want to figure out a way how we can parlay this into something to benefit them and to benefit the community and the businesses in the community, or, you know, what can we do to promote this? Thoughts, questions, suggestions?
So, and then that's what I think the follow-up discussion needs to be. I think it will be helpful to have Bruce back, and we might even have one of the presenters, the professor that talked about the program back. It's so, if I understood this correctly, photonics is it gives you the capability, I'm going to say, to make things work. So they talked about how, you know, first it was solid state circuitry, then chip technology, and photonics seem to be taking the place of those technologies in making you know, manufacturing processes work and moving things. I'd like to learn even more about it. It's one of those things you kind of get a general idea, but I need to hear more. But they've got the program. They're providing this education, certification education, that creates a workforce that would then be able to go out and help companies integrate this technology into their operations. And they are also looking for internships for their students. So again, I think we have an opportunity to figure out what our role can be to help promote this.
Yeah, I think you got a really good point, and Bruce would probably be able to contribute to that brainstorming session better than I.
And I don't know if if Stonehill is opening up at all. I know that they really went into shutdown mode in that not allowing people from outside to come in. You couldn't even walk through the campus.
I know.
But if they're starting to open up, and other members of the board who weren't at the presentation would like, I think we could probably ask to either do physical site visits or maybe have another presentation where they walk through the lab.
they highlight their partnership with Bridgewater State related to it?
I think he talked about that.
Yeah, it's a great public-private partnership between public and private higher ed. It'd be great to weave in Bridgewater State into that discussion too, primarily because they've got a public administration program as well. If we're talking about internships, and I think there's some cross collaboration between the private sector businesses that may benefit from the program, but also the town with the resources Bridgewater State has, especially when we're talking about rolling out these different programs. They've got, Bridgewater State's funding internships for private business at no cost to them, and doing the same for government. So there may be a broader discussion too, but it's a great program. The win that Bridgewater and Stonehill had receiving that grant funding for this program has just been a game changer for both of them.
Yeah, we definitely need to reconnect with them.
One of the things that this makes me think of, so for Old Colony Planning Council, they have comprehensive economic development strategy, and once a month generally they meet. Stephanie serves on that committee, and I participate in it as well, and it's regional for the Old Colony region, to talk about general economic development. There's actually on the website, I'll have to share it with you guys, there's a 5-year plan for the region, and it lists some of the goals for the communities and regionally how those work together. And so the Brockton Workforce Career Center, they have a lot of really good training opportunities, to retrain or for new people that come out for certificate programs, and they work with the colleges and universities also. So that's a really important component of the economic development ecosystem, especially right now, because businesses are really having a hard time finding people to come and work for them or to even be trained for them. So that might be something, Stephanie, that for a future meeting, maybe we bring Sheila to talk about services that they offer. And so to tie this into like the business directory database kind of a thing, once we have the contact information for our businesses, like, if something comes up where, we have this incredible photonics opportunity, and we ask them, who are the kinds of businesses that would benefit from that? And we go through our business database and say, we've got these 10 businesses in the industrial park that may be interested in, like, we're going to have so much data to be able to do things and make those connections. I can invite you to, we actually, this Tuesday, Dr. Mark Melnick, who is a economic, what am I trying to say? He talks about economics.
He's a professor of economics. Is that?
Yeah, for the Donahue Institute. And he came and spoke back in October, and he was incredible. So this is going to be a follow-up meeting, and I can send you guys all the invitation. And Mark, you're welcome to join the monthly meetings. If you follow the Old Colony Planning Council newsletter, there's information in there about all this stuff. But I don't know if I want to introduce you to too many of them, because I feel like you might be going after my job pretty soon.
Don't worry about, I couldn't do what you do, Donnie. But no, I would love to participate in that. It's funny. You don't know what you don't know. And when I hear people talk about economic recovery or economic development, it lights something up in your brain that you didn't know existed, and it just pushes you to start shifting your perspective and thinking in different ways. So if I can expose myself to more of that thought, I would like to. If this guy is going to, speak and have light and ignite light bulb moments for me, I'm all in.
Yeah, when he first started talking, one of the things that he really flagged before I really heard it anywhere is the impact of women in the workforce. And not just the fact that women, generally were the ones to stay home with kids because of the childcare problem, and he tied that together. But also learning more about that. It's not just the women who are not back in the workforce. It's the women who are in the workforce that are now doing, full-time job, homeschooling kids, raising their family, cooking, cleaning, like all the stuff. So it's been really very challenging for a lot of working women under those conditions. So whether you kept in the workforce or you didn't, it raises multiple challenges, and he had the data to support that. So It was really, it was great. And his previous presentation, I'll include the link to that. So if you wanted to watch it before, or there's a PowerPoint with the data, and that data is stuff that I've been able to incorporate into the grants that I've helped communities work on. So when you do a grant, you have to demonstrate what is the problem, what is the need, what is the data to support that, what are you going to do about it, how are you going to measure it, how do you define success? So you need all that kind of data to support what you're trying to do.
That's our 5-minute warning, Dottie.
It is. I have a 12 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Well, then, if it's all right with you guys, I'm going to move things along a little bit because we will lose quorum as soon as one of us leaves. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think in the interest of time, we're going to move ahead. So EDC website update. We'll table that to our next meeting. Matt and Christina usually talk about that. I don't think there's anything that has changed on it, so we'll just move that to our next meeting. General outreach and support, Easton outside support. So I think in our last meeting, we talked about how to support Easton outside, and I shared with the group the best way to support Easton outside is to participate in one of those bi-weekly meetings, and just contribute, listen, observe, come to the table with some ideas. This, like nobody really chairs the meetings. It's just this, group of people that are just participating. And I said earlier, be careful with the good idea or any idea because you might wind up owning it. And I did have an idea last time or a couple times ago when I was at Langwater Farm doing Easton trivia Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Because
having a blast. You were having a blast.
Yeah, having a blast. It was so much fun. It really was. It was a really good time. But I came up with the idea, and sure enough, Gail Devins, before the end of the meeting, said, "Well, Mark, what are you doing Saturday?" And I was like, "You got me." And so we wound up doing it together, and it was awesome. But if you want to participate in Easton Outside, not just for the Economic Development Group, but for anybody in the town, reach out to myself or Stephanie or anybody on Economic Development Board, and we'll send you the link to the Easton Outside meetings that take place on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Every other week, I believe. So that's how you get involved. That's how you support Easton Outside. So the more the merrier. And regional pilot program, we definitely covered that earlier. SBA small business relief announcements. Dottie or Stephanie, that's your jam.
Yeah, we've been posting on the Economic Development Council's Facebook page, but there's a small business revitalization fund right now that really is a good opportunity for small businesses to restaurants, small restaurant revitalization fund, and then there is a shuttered venue fund through the SBA. So that would be like the Children's Museum, Oaks and Hall, which I sent them both the information on that. And just to keep an eye out for it, the PPP program is starting to run out of money. And I think that you can only get that under certain conditions now. But the SBA page is something that small businesses should have bookmarked, because when they come out with new things, they happen quickly. We capture those and put them on our Facebook as well.
Okay. Yeah, for those who don't follow the Economic Development Facebook page at home, please follow it. I've had many conversations with people in town talking about grants. And they said, well, I don't know where I see these. I said, just follow the page. They don't send every single one out, but they send a lot out. That page puts out more in this arena than any other Facebook page that's town related. So definitely follow that page if you're at home. And then items for the June agenda. Standing items are Easton Outside update. And I want to talk about the marketing plan for the app. You guys want to do Stonehill again? Because hopefully Bruce will be here so we can figure out, just maybe a short 10 or 15 minutes we'll discuss what we do with that.
Mhm.
What else do you think, guys? Any other thoughts on agenda items for June?
It'll probably be a decent working session, especially on the app, right? And the
Yeah.
marketing plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably gonna eat up a big chunk of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably add an update to the PACE program. We're going to try to get
Oh,
that on
right. Yep.
the board agenda. Not the next meeting we have is the little quickie meeting before a town meeting, which I want to put it on that agenda because I want to really give this the attention that it deserves. So it'll be on the following meeting, and that will be before our next economic development. So we can just do a recap on that.
Okay. And that's a lot. These meetings, I mean, you could put 3 items on the agenda and go for like an hour and a half. So we don't need to fill it up. I'm sure we'll talk plenty. So all right, last thing to do. Would anyone like to make any comments or make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Dottie and Stephanie, and we'll do roll call. Start with Dan.
Yes.
Dottie.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
And yes to me. Thank you, and be safe and be healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day, everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.